Good morning and welcome to 49 Days of Embodied Spiritual Practice. It's Thursday. Yesterday was Wednesday, or what we call Hump Day, and yesterday we decided to focus a little bit on humor. And because it's Thursday, which is almost near the end of the week, we're going to focus on resourcefulness, emotional intelligence, and coherence. Mostly because on Thursday, I think we naturally tend to be close to the end and we allow ourselves to feel how tired we might feel. So in feeling that tiredness, sometimes we have to tap into our resourcefulness just a bit more. Also on Thursday, it's likely that our connections with people are going to feel fairly frazzled. So today seems like a good day to focus on emotional intelligence. And because we might be a bit tired on the inside, it's also a good time to focus a little bit on the practices and the experience of coherence. So giving people a couple of minutes to enter into the meeting, I'm just going to review a couple of things for context. So this week we've been learning about how to be aware of awareness. And one of the things that helps us with that is recognizing that as human beings, we sometimes live our lives as the story of our lives. And sometimes that story feels like it's more about the past. And sometimes it feels like it's more about the future. And sometimes the momentum of our lives moving, through that past to future, depending on your family, depending on where you live, depending on your culture, your work, your relationships, that moving through your past, from your past to your future, that story we live can be very, very constraining, very, very limiting. And sometimes we tend to struggle against that in our lives, or we commit so wholeheartedly to that we kind of end up missing or ignoring the rest of our lives. So when we want to break free of that without just reacting or without just exploding or without just running away, we want to encounter something that we've been exploring this week, which is all beings come into being in a state of being. And within that state of being, we produce that story. And they're very, very connected, but they're also very, very different. So when we come into a relationship with our state of being and we reflect on our story instead of live our story, we can notice that in that state of being, our story brings in a lot of feelings. Now, some of those feelings might be good, some of those feelings might be challenging, and some of those feelings might feel like something that's almost like a curse that will just never go away. So when we want to come into a deeper relationship with our state, can let the story tell its story, allow our feelings to be felt the way that they need to be felt, but to drop below the feelings, to come into our state of being, or our state of beingness. And as we come into that state of beingness, which is below our feelings, you start to notice that feelings and sentiments and stories and reactions and patterns are something that are, in a way, inviting us to continue moving in the same way. But they're also inviting us to move any way we choose. So, so there's a kind of magic trick, if you will, in spiritual embodied practices. And that has to do with state shift. Now, anytime we go into meditation, we go into ecstatic dance, we move into a Qigong practice, a yoga practice, we're shifting our state. But sometimes as we do that, we're still in our story, still in the momentum of life. As we become more skillful with our embodied practices and our ability to shift state, we develop a certain capacity, which we call self-regulation. Now, that's the most common sense thing you could possibly say in a way, but it's also the most empowering and life-changing thing that you could possibly decide to learn to do in your life. State shift begins with downregulation because a lot of us, because of how life works, we get uptight. So we're going to explore that with our practice this morning. Let's come into our alignment, our body, our breath. our beingness. We're going to begin the way we usually begin, by randomly wobbling the broom handle we're imagining our spine to be. And just playfully waiting and seeing when that broom handle is going to find that exact little spot right in the center of our alignment, our posture, and our structure. Let's try that again. A little wobble. It's Thursday. Let's sink into that resourceful sense of who we are. And let's just extend our spine upwards a bit, kind of like that periscope we were speaking about yesterday. That periscope naturally is designed in human beings and in submarines to turn around and look for our opportunities, and sometimes even for danger. So when we extend our periscope up, notice that we're looking for something on the outside, which we need to do, but we can also decide to settle down with our body, with that upward extension into that down regulation, that down shifting, just enough that we feel that balance again, that little bit of playful wobble, that coming back into a natural stillness, just sinking down. So if we go periscope up, and we smile and go, oh, these are the opportunities, the good things for today. And we might go a little farther. Uh-oh, what could go wrong today? Those are instincts, and we can acknowledge them, sink back down, down regulation, self-regulation, state shift, wobble the broom, come back to center. Take a moment and connect with the environment around you. Feel into the room, feel into the space, feel into the space of your body. Stay with your broom. It's Thursday, most of us are a little frazzled and tired, but we can still hopefully invite that sense of the sacred into the space around us, that sense of the sacred into the space within us. We move our periscope up ever so gently towards the smile of opportunity. We can balance that by sinking down into the smile of stillness and presence. This is a kind of resourcefulness, and it's a kind of coherence. But let's add just one more fun little game to our experience of coherence. So our spine is a broom handle. It wobbles around, and we try and find just the right balance until the broom handle or our body is just up and down. And now we're going to imagine with our broom handle spine that there's a broom handle standing upwards on the top of our head, like a broom handle might sit on your hand. So now with your broom handle spine, try and balance the broom handle on the top of your head, which feels like a comedy routine or some kind of gag or a really weird contest. And it's a little bit relatively nerve-wracking in the sense of Qigong and meditation. So what if we were to take our broom handle spine, trying to balance that broom handle on the top of the head, and allow your spine to soften and wiggle a bit like you're belly dancing, so that however you imagine that broom on the top of your head, you can be very resourceful, very resilient, very adaptable in the way that you reposition yourself underneath of that. And let's imagine we're getting really good at that now. We're holding that broom handle on the top of the head, and the spine is not rigid. but it's definitely coming into being centered and coming into being still. So I'm going to share with you another approach to this aspect of meditation, this quality of coherence. And all you need to do is find a spot on the wall that you're looking at. Now, if the wall has texture or shapes, or maybe it's a bookshelf, or maybe it's something, just pick one spot. One point, doesn't matter where. Keep your eyes on that spot. Keep your awareness on your broom handle spine. It's now a little bit rubber-like. Come into stillness. Come into your breath. Feel that sensation of the breath coming into your nose, sinuses, your throat, your belly, your chest. Emptying your chest and then your belly, emptying your body through your throat, your sinuses and nose. So we're going to come back to that. But for now, stare at the wall, stare at your spot, stay with your spine, connect with your breath any way you like. I invite you to stay exactly where you are, eyes focused, blink when you need to, spine aligned but not stiff. Breathing deeply in any way that feels very tangible. When I first started studying meditation, I had two teachers. One was a Taoist teacher, one was a Zen teacher. And they both had me do this in different ways for an hour a day, every day for months. I was 18 at the time. And they invited me in different ways to notice that when I stare at the wall, especially if the wall has textures, that my mind would naturally produce, oh, is that a horse? Is that a face? Is that a dragon? If I was looking at a wall of books, my mind would go, oh, look, I'm reading the, spine of that book. Oh, those are those words. Oh, I remember that book. Blah, 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 blah. The reason why this wall staring can be such a powerful kind of coherence meditation is, excuse me, as soon as your mind sees an object, the object becomes a part of a story. Oh, a horse. I remember horses. Horses make me scared. I love horses. I like riding horses. And on and on. The memories come in, then the associations come in, and then what to do about this, and blah, 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 blah. So there's a profound intelligence and wisdom and experience with this, because in meditation, we're choosing to be awareness, not awareness of a story. Although sometimes we end up doing that too. So when the mind sees something and it wants to recognize that something, we're invited to just ignore it or acknowledge it and then move our awareness past it. Of course, been there, done that. Keep coming back to stillness, embodiment, breath. Our mind is like a wheel, and once you start it, awareness, recognition, association, what to do, have to do the thing I'm thinking of doing, on and on and on and on. We can escape that wheel of cognition. We are now skillful at meditation. And this is why the wall staring is such a profound initiation. My Zen teacher, who also was a sword fighting teacher, had said that there's an aspect of Zen that is called the sword of Zen. So when we're sitting and staring at the wall and the mind says horse, dragon, favorite book, we're invited to just use the sword of Zen to cut through the pattern of the mind, the just innate instinctual rolling compulsion to think. Now, I'm doing this with my hand on purpose because I want you to notice, if you're watching me, that it looks like I'm fighting against something, maybe in some robotic like arm movement. But the mind now references Michael sword against bad thoughts, bad. And that's not actually what the sword of Zen is. The sword of Zen is to stay along the molecule thin filament of the edge of a very, very sharp sword. And to imagine your spine, your mind, the wisp of your breath, everything is the edge of the blade, moving through time with a kind of immanence and a kind of coherence and a kind of a will force that isn't really about will or force, but about staying very resourced, very still, very clear that the only thing is to stay at the edge of the blade. And whatever comes up into the wall, the bookshelf, the inside, we're just the sort of Zen. We are just the edge of the leading moment of mind. If we fill it, now you're catching up to what to do about the thing. Find your spine. Look at your spot. Stare with gentle patience. Very soft gaze. Finding stillness, being centered. Becoming the sort of Zen. That's a very masculine approach. On Sunday, we're going to learn a much more feminine approach that comes from the same tradition. So let's come back into our breath. Please stay, if you choose to, looking at your spot on the wall, balancing your now softer spine, feeling your breath past your nose, throat, and past your sinuses and throat, into your belly, filling your belly until you feel your chest, emptying your chest, emptying your belly. Feel the breath pass out of your throat and sinuses and nose. So when we do this kind of breathing, we can also experience this, and it's almost exactly the same. We're just going to be aware that as the breath fills the belly and then comes up to fill the chest, it's kind of like water filling a well. And if we choose to, we can see a little leaf floating on the water of the well. So if we choose to go from staring at the wall to closing our eyes to keeping our attention on that leaf, as we inhale, and as we exhale, inhale, exhale. Very much like the wall staring, now we're leaf staring. We're just choosing to be a bit more embodied, a bit more connected with all of the spaces that we breathe into, and also just the experience of moving up with the breath and moving down with the breath. And eventually, after some time of practice, we actually start to notice that we feel that our point of consciousness is moving up, and then our point of consciousness is moving down. And this is where embodied meditation really begins. Now, if we're to do our physiological sigh breath, we're going to do that in slow motion. Just to review, you can inhale into the belly like we're going to sing. Inhale into the chest like we're going to yawn. Hold the breath. And then breathe out slowly like you're blowing on an ember. Breathe into the belly. Into the chest. As I mentioned, that kind of breathing can downregulate your body so effectively your blood pressure will drop measurably. It's also a very good idea if you feel like you're getting anxious or might move into a panic attack. Let's play with that experience of breathing into your belly. Feel it like you're Santa Claus or the big belly Buddha. Let's notice something. When we breathe in to the belly, you can feel the belly button moving away from the spine. And as we breathe out, we can feel the belly button moving towards the spine. Fill the belly. Empty the belly. Now, if you want, you don't need to, but it sometimes helps to place one of your hands between your belly button and your pelvis, in the center of your abdomen. And then as you breathe in, to just feel the pressure of your breath, push your hand away from your spine. And as you exhale, follow your breath with your hand towards your spine. So you can breathe all the way out, all the way in, all the way out. And then now notice you're breathing not just towards your belly button, you're breathing towards below your belly button. This is hard for a lot of us to do these days because we all want six-pack abs. We all want to look super perky and fit. And that's good. But think of that as very yang. And now we want to try something very yin, which is to soften our belly, soften our lower belly, let our belly just softly expand and kind of fall forward and fall a little bit downwards into the lap. And as we exhale, we pick our belly back up, bring it back towards our spine, breathing all the way out. I mean this a bit playfully, but modern life is kind of uptight. So when we breathe and we feel uptight, a resolution to that or a response to that might be to breathe down into the body, releasing the lower abdomen, letting the lower abdomen kind of fall down and out instead of uptight. And then we breathe out, allow it to come back, but not up, just towards the spine. Inhaling away from the spine, letting the belly soften and sink, picking the belly back up towards the spine. So just keep doing that. for a couple of minutes. Continue to breathing like, excuse me, continue to breathe like that. I just want to share with you as a clinician or a doctor to um, bring something to your awareness that when you relax your body in that way and breathe in that way, you're actually resetting a part of the nervous system that actually connects to your adrenal glands. So by changing the way your diaphragm and your belly muscles work, you're actually changing the nerve interaction between your mind and body in a way that is going in the opposite way of distress. So although I can say, in perhaps easy to remember way, we can be uptight and we can be down and loose and soft in the belly. We can also be wound up biochemically. We can also unwind biochemically. So we can use our physiological sigh breathing, or maybe after a minute or two of that, perhaps we might want to consider doing some deep natural breathing. And natural breathing in Chinese is called 深呼吸. That just means that your belly is moving with your diaphragm. Your diaphragm is kind of like an umbrella. So as you inhale, the umbrella comes down. Your belly comes forward. You exhale, your diaphragm comes up. Your belly naturally comes back towards your spine. So we inhale, soften the belly. We exhale, the belly comes back. And you can notice that the diaphragm and the belly are moving together. So that's a quick introduction to natural breathing. Next, we're going to talk about Chinese medicine and emotional intelligence.